You've heard the expression, rising tide raises all the ships together.
Yeah.
And that's a cliche, but it's true, and there's evidence here in Hickory of how well that works. I'm not always right, and I don't always vote the way that I would vote for me personally, because I got to vote. My job as a representative is not to vote necessarily the way I would vote for me, but to vote the way that it's best for the majority of the people in Hickory. Let me ask you this. If you knew, nobody knows, but if you knew that you had 24 hours left in this world, would you do things differently?
What's up, guys? Lift and Love. Lift and Love here. Where did you pull this question from? Why is that? Lift Love. Crochet. We out. What's up, guys, and welcome back to the Lifting Love podcast. You are awesome, and we have an incredible episode for you today. But before we get to there, Jay Brown, really just want to shout him out for allowing us to film this here. And secondly, I do want to say that Lifting Love is nonpartisan. This platform is used for candidates to tell their story, their why, their plans for the future, for who they represent. Just want to put that out there. This is not this is a nonpartisan platform for candidates to come and speak on. With that being said, just have to put a disclaimer out there. With that being said, we got the man himself, the mayor of Hickory, Hank Guess. How are you, my friend?
Mr. Love, I am better than I deserve.
Let's get we have a little round of applause here. So real quick, and I actually really want to get into that because you say that all the time. Where does that come from? I'm better than I deserve.
Well, all of us, as far as I'm concerned, we get a lot more than what we deserve. And most of my life, I've been really blessed as a Christian, as a person that's saved. I think that God always provides for me, and I didn't do anything to deserve all that He provides for me and my family. So when I say I'm better than I deserve, it's in reference to, what I do doesn't compare to what God does for me. So it's better than what I deserve.
I love that. Because you say that literally every time I see you. I'm like, hey, how are you? Better than I deserve.
And
I
it's never not true.
I love that. So real quick, this has to be, and I'm going to say this to the camera, this has to be, out of all the guests we've had, the longest resume I've ever had to read off. You ever get like the CVS receipts? And it's the long paper? That's exactly what this is.
All your discounts.
Hickory native. Graduated from Hickory High in 1977. He's only 21, though. Earned a bachelor's degree in criminal justice from Garner-Webb. Graduate of the 210th session of the FBI National Academy. Served 30 years in the Hickory Police Department, retiring in 2008 at the rank of lieutenant. And then after that, he was a reserve deputy sheriff for Catawba County Sheriff's Office. He was a city council member for 8 years. And he is the current mayor and has been since 2017. Wow.
Well, you left out a few things, but that's all right. I'm still active in reserve law enforcement at Catawba County.
Yeah.
This is my 46th year in law enforcement.
That's incredible.
I volunteer in that capacity. I still work the road as a deputy, but most of my time is spent as an SRO, a school resource officer, throughout all the schools in Catawba County. And in my spare time, I drive a school bus. So
there's a 5-letter word called sleep. When do you do that?
Well, I work it in every once in a while. I usually get enough. I always get enough sleep. I get enough. It varies depending on what all's going on, but I am dedicated and committed. And when I say I'm going to do something, or when I profess or run for an election or something like that, I'm going to give it my all. Yeah. On paper, the mayor's job is part-time. And it's kind of funny because sometimes people will come up to me and they'll say, well, wait a minute. So you're part-time, aren't you? And I say, well, yeah, I am. I said, I just work half a day. And they go, oh, you just work half a day? And I say, yeah, half a day is 12 hours. Is it not?
You're not wrong.
Yeah, half a day is 12 hours. And I mean, like I started this morning at 7. It's a little after 5 now. I've got another meeting after this one, and by the time I get finished for the day, it'll be my 12 hours, and I'll go home and answer emails, text messages, voicemails, and stuff like that. So yeah, I put in my time.
So one of the questions that really comes to mind, just off the gate, you know, as someone who I've seen you in the community, I know you. I didn't know how crazy your resume was. Why law enforcement? Like, did that start at a young age? Did you have family in it?
There's a story.
What's the backstory there?
Well, there's a story. My dad, my mom and dad were originally from Hickory, and my dad joined the Army at a young age. And he was in the Army for 3 or 4 years, and he got out of the Army and turned around and joined the Navy. And he was in the Navy for 20 years.
Wow.
So, and my dad, like many folks, he was in the Korean War. And I can only, from what little bit he told me about it, that was just a rough time. I mean, all the wars are rough, but you know, the Korean War and the freezing cold and all like that. I mean, it was just a different time. But anyway, to make a long story short, my dad ended up retiring from 20 years from the Navy after he'd spent 3 years in the Army.
That's
and
awesome.
We were in the Panama Canal Zone. That's where our last duty station was. Well, when we were in the Navy, we moved every 3 years. So you know, every 3 years we would move somewhere different. So we're in the Panama Canal Zone, and his 3 years is up, and he comes home. That's back when there were maps. There were no GPS or anything like that. So he comes home, and he lays this map out on the table. And he takes his finger and he points and he goes, right, my sister's there, my mom's there, and I'm there. And he points and he says, okay, that's where we're going next. And my mom looks at it and she goes, there's nothing there. And when he takes his finger off the map, he was covering up Guam because his finger literally covered up the whole island of Guam. So my mom said, you know what? You got your 20 years. We're not going to Guam. We're going back home. So we ended up back here in Hickory. I was 12 years old.
Wow.
And that was my first time really back in Hickory because I wasn't actually born here. I was born in Disney World. But anyway, so 12 years old, we moved back to Hickory, and I've been here ever since.
When you say born in Disney World, like you were actually born in Disney World or Orlando?
Okay, I was born in Orlando, Orange County, and Disney World. Now you're a smart guy, Mr. Love. Okay. So I was born in Disney World in an Air Force Base hospital. Now, the Air Force Base hospital was since then torn down, and Disney World encompasses where the hospital was. So I was born in Disney World. It just wasn't there yet. Now, when I tell this story in front of my wife, she says, "Yeah, he was born in a parking lot," and I say, "No. The hospital is exactly where the Enchanted Kingdom is."
That's stupid. That might be the best born story I've ever heard.
Well, I don't know exactly on the property where the hospital was, but the hospital really was on the property where the Disney World is now. So I tell people, you know, I was born in I World. It just wasn't there yet. I was pre-Disney World.
Yeah. Honestly, I had tickets before you did. Okay. So for you moving around like you did that, going back to the law enforcement question, did that kind of build that adaptability to be like, okay, I'm easily adjustable? I mean, that's one of the biggest qualities as a cop. You have to be adaptable because, I mean, you could go into the shift, it's going to be a great day, it's happened. You have shootings, you have car accidents. You have to just adapt to what gets thrown at you.
Well, you're exactly right. But my dad, I got accepted. It gets worse. So I got accepted into officers candidate school.
Yeah.
And I didn't go. So you can imagine my dad's disappointment because he just expected me to go into the military and follow in his footsteps. Yeah. So my dad, you know, it was kind of a rough time when not only did I not go to officers candidate school, but I didn't join the military. Now at that time there was no draft and there was no war. Yeah. So what I told my dad, what I tried to explain to my dad, it didn't go over very well. No. But I told my dad, I said, look, you know, we moved every 3 years. And I'm not really, I don't want to move every 3 years. I don't, so the next best thing is I'm going to go into law enforcement. So, he was okay with it, but, I think he really wanted me to go in the military, and who knows what would have happened differently. But, I'm real proud of my law enforcement career. And I enjoyed it, and I'm still doing it 46 years in law enforcement, and I've done all aspects of law enforcement, and it really has changed from when I started in the late 70s till today. I could tell you all kinds of stories about that, but we probably don't have that much time. I mean, think about law enforcement in the 70s and law enforcement today, and I'm still doing that. So, yeah, especially with the technology and the equipment. The technology and the equipment is amazing.
Was there ever, like, you're a Hickory thoroughbred. You've been here. Your roots are here. Everything's here. Was there ever maybe a conversation or a chance that you were moving away from Hickory?
No, I've never considered that. Obviously, I went to school here. I went to Grandview. I went to Hickory High. Graduated from Hickory High. Yeah. I went back when it was CVTI. It's CVCC now, but I went when it was CVTI, and I went to Western Piedmont Community College and got my law enforcement, my BLET, basic law enforcement training. I went there, and then of course I ended up going to Gardner Webb. But my family's here. My children are here. My grandchildren are here. That's so awesome. I'm not going anywhere. I'm here.
So what are your favorite things about Hickory? Besides the fact that you've worked here and you live here and your family's here.
Well, there would be a lot, but really it's the people. We've got such a diverse group of people. Mm-hmm. It's just amazing, and I get to interact with them all of the time. And when I talk to people that move here, that's one of the number of reasons they give for moving here is because, sometimes you remember the people here are so friendly, the people here are so nice, the people here are so polite. Where I come from, it's not like that. And because we've been here and that's what we're used to, we probably don't give it a second thought. Now, of course, that's not going to be everybody, but the majority of the folks that you run into, it's like I tell people, one of my slogans is I want you to be successful. So what can I do to contribute to your success? And it may be something small. It doesn't have to be something huge, but what can I do to contribute to your success? Because if you're successful, then that helps the community to be successful.
100%.
So, and we've got some of the most generous population that there could be. I mean, look at all the nonprofits. Look at all the churches. Look at all the people. I mean, it's just a friendly place to be. And people are genuine and they're sincere. Mm-hmm. And, really, people really do work together well here, not just in Hickory, but in the surrounding metropolitan area. Obviously we're here in Hickory, but I see that throughout our communities. 100%. And, we don't really have any boundaries. I run into people all the time that say, well, I live in Hickory. What's your address? Well, then they really live in Granite Falls, or they really live in, they really live in Salismill or Bethlehem or Newton or Conover. But, I got a Hickory address. And so, but that's okay. Yeah. We all get along.
100%. I do have, from a mutual friend of ours, I'm going to try to see with the question if you could decipher who it's from. Uh-oh. But as Hickory's been voted one of the best places to live, one of the biggest reasons to move here is that you said there's good people. Speaking about neighbors,
uh-oh.
How's your neighborhood? How are your neighbors?
Well, I think I know who you're speaking about, and I think a lot. Okay, I'm just going to say it. I've got great neighbors. Hey, she brings me cookies. Her kids are over at my house now. Now she does have this pony. Well, wait a minute, it's a dog. Did she tell you about that?
Yeah, her dog is massive.
Well, okay. So one day it's kind of funny. So one day I was semi dressed up. I had on a white shirt. that I just got from the dry cleaners, and it was it was a white shirt.
Yeah.
And Henry came bouncing across the yard and had mud all over his paws. And when Henry jumps up on you, his paws are up on my shoulder, and I had on my white shirt, and it wasn't white any longer. Let's just say that.
I spoke to her yesterday, and I told her I was potentially having you on, and she was like, ask him that question for me.
Rachel, wait a minute. I didn't say it.
Oh.
I didn't say it. I love Rachel and Austin and their children. They're great neighbors.
In true political fashion. No,
really, they are. And see,
Yeah.
well, I don't know if you know this or not, but her husband, see, Kim, which is her husband's dad, me and him went to high school together, and his mother went to school with my wife. So, my wife and her grew up together in high school, and me and Kim grew up together in high school. And now Austin and Rachel are my neighbors and live right beside me. And I own that house. I sold them that house. So I don't know if she's ever told you that or not. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I got really good neighbors.
Yeah, she was like, just mention that.
Yeah.
But seriously, in all seriousness, to bring it back to Hickory, it's been voted the best place to live for multiple years running. I mean, heck, they had a TV show come out here, and they were filming downtown, and like, what pride, not only as the mayor, but as a resident. I feel like sometimes people might get lost in the politics of you're the mayor, but you're also a resident. You also have all these other things that you do. How awesome has it been to see the growth of Hickory as a community as a whole?
Well, it's been really good. Obviously, it hasn't always been like that.
Yeah.
So, for those people that may not realize it, we had a downturn several years ago. Hickory was founded on really furniture and textiles. Mm-hmm. So, without going into all the details, at one time we were shipping the lumber to other places, and other places were making the furniture. And this was back in the 1800s, of course. Well, somebody who was a lot smarter than me said, "Wait a minute, why are we're shipping the lumber to other places? Why don't we just make the furniture ourselves?" So that's really the story about how it all got started. So for years, it's been extremely successful. So all of our eggs were really in two baskets as far as employment was concerned. Now there was but the majority. So most everybody in Hickory either worked in furniture or they worked in textiles.
Yeah.
So obviously, a few years back, there was a time when a lot of that went overseas. And when that happened, a lot of folks lost their jobs, and we started to see a decline in population, the economy, and things like that. So we had to reinvent ourselves, if you would. Yeah. Now, furniture and textiles are making a comeback, and they finally figured out that not only can you not make it cheaper in China, but you cannot compare to the quality of what's done here in Hickory and in the USA. So in the beginning it was about price, but then over the years when you started to see the quality deteriorate, that's when things and in the meantime we had to diversify ourselves as far as our jobs were concerned, and we did that. But now you're seeing textiles and furniture come back because nobody could match the quality of what was done here. So what we learned from that is nobody ever dreamed that would go away. Mm-hmm. But when it did, what we really learned from that is in the future we can't let that happen again. We can't put all of our eggs in one basket. We got to be diversified, and we've got to have different opportunities, not just with employment, but that goes across the board. You've got to have something for everybody.
Yeah.
And since we've got such a great culture here, and since we've got such mixed diversity, having something for everyone really goes right along with that.
Yeah, I mean, something for everyone is literally a perfect segue. I mean, I think personally, this is my opinion. The City Walk
Yes.
is one of the most beautiful and all-encompassing things I've ever seen a city do. I don't think I've ever seen a city have a full, like, complete walk that literally you could go from downtown to the crawdads to the airport onto the lake. Like, you could go all these different areas. Like, that's incredible. And not only that, like, you talk of City Walk Brewing, you talk of, like, everything the Cranford Brothers are doing, downtown, all these incredible small businesses that we have here. Hickory FC, right? Now we have a semi-professional sports team that hopefully in the next couple of years will move up and become a full professional sports team. You got the Crawdads.
Hey, they're the national. They're the national champions.
Like when you think of, is there something for everyone in Hickory? Oh, yeah. There really is. And it goes back to the backbone of our economy here. It's a lot of great small businesses, a lot of big business. But like you said, it's very diverse. And we have a little bit of everything. Speaking of the City Walk,
that was really the catalyst.
Yeah, I was gonna say, is that like your one of the biggest things that you like are proud about, of like getting it done? Obviously, it took time and there was a lot of hiccups and different things, but like actually the final product and seeing what it is now, because it's absolutely beautiful.
Well, let me clarify something, and obviously I had a part in that.
Yeah.
But I don't want to take credit for that. There was a lot of folks. What we ended up doing was very risky at the time, because we didn't know if it was going to be successful or not. So one of the things that we did, that we didn't have to do this, but we just did it because it was the right thing, and that was we put it to a vote. Because we could have, the city council and the mayor, we could have just decided, okay, this is what we're going to do. We thought it was a good concept. We thought it was a good idea. We knew that it had risk involved in it, but we knew that we had to do something. So we went to other cities and explored some of the things that they were doing. And most of the cities that we had gone to that had turned themselves around had done something very similar. So we got some confidence that it was working in other places. So what we did is we came back and we explained it. We had public meetings and we put it out there. And then on top of that, we put it to a referendum. We put it to the people and we told them what we knew about it. We told them what we thought the consequences could be, how positive they could be. But we also let them know that there were risks involved and that it wasn't, something that we could tell them positively 100% was going to be a success. So we put it to a vote. And overwhelmingly, the citizens voted for a bond, and that's what we were able to start the City Walk. Now what you see today with the addition of the River Walk, the historic Ridgeview Walk, the Aviation Walk, and what we're doing right now with the Ole Art Walk to connect it all, that wasn't part of the original concept. The original concept was only the City Walk, which starts basically at Lenore University and comes this way and through our downtown and a little bit further out. So that was the original bond, and that's what it was for. In addition to that, it was also for the Trivium Corporate Business Park, which we're in 50-50 with Catawba County. So the original concept was for the City Walk itself. Well, the City Walk ended up being so successful that we were able to get grants from the state and from the federal government because they saw what we did with the City Walk and how successful it was. And because of how we did it and how successful it was, we were able to get grants from the state and the federal government for the other 4 extensions. So now it's 12 miles, it had to start somewhere. It only made sense to start it. Your downtown is your front porch. When somebody comes to your downtown, if your downtown's thriving, that's a good sign of what the rest of your town's like. If you go to somebody's downtown and it's dead, then that's a sign also. Yeah. So what City Walk and what the other trails have done is just expanded that. Now, I want to make this very clear. City Walk is great for people to be able to walk, for health, for all of that. It is. But that's not the reason we did it, okay? The real reason is economic development. Because everywhere, and you alluded to it a while ago, everywhere that City Walk has touched, everywhere that Riverwalk's touched, everywhere that the historic Ridgeview Walk has touched, everywhere that the Aviation Walk has touched, you've seen economic development. You've seen areas that maybe weren't the most populated areas. You've seen them grow. It was about economic development. Now, the fact that you can walk, the fact that it's so nice, the fact that it's landscaped, the fact that it's lit at night, the fact that you can exercise, that you can walk, that you can get from destination to destination and connectivity, that's all good. But we didn't do it for that. We did it for economic development. And it's been tremendously successful. In fact, it's so successful that in addition to the 5 that we've got, well, the Ole Art Walk's under construction, and that's the last piece of the puzzle. That connects it all. But in addition to that, we've got 2 extensions that are already planned. We've got an extension off of Aviation that's going to go to Appalachian State University's campus, and then we've got another extension off of Aviation that's going to go to the new Aviation Museum that's getting ready to open up.
Which is going to be absolutely insane.
Have you seen it?
I have not seen it. I've heard of it.
I've been in it several times. It's going to blow your mind.
Yeah, I'm really excited about it. Again, these are just things that you get excited about because, and I also would like to touch that, like the economic impact of it is like where the City Walk is. There's businesses off of. There's things
everywhere
to do. There's attractions.
There used to be some vacant buildings and some dilapidated buildings and different things like that.
Yeah, I mean, so I'll speak to the Cranford brothers.
Right, Zach.
We just had him at the ambassador meeting, but he showed us an image of what 205 Main looked like.
Right.
With the pawn shop.
Right.
And then it was like the next picture was
his
what
place
it is now, and it's unrecognizable.
Well, and even before City Walk, there were folks that invested in our community because they and I don't have a problem with throwing out names. I don't know if you know Paul Thompson or not. Transportation Insight. You know where Transportation Insight is now?
Yeah.
Okay, so where Transportation Insight is now. Okay, so Paul Thompson is the owner and founder of Transportation Insight. It's a worldwide company. His business was downtown. Okay. So he was growing, and his jobs were growing, and he was looking at, okay, where do I need to be? Here I am, a worldwide company, a global company, and I'm headquarters here in Hickory, and where do I need to be in the future? And he considered moving to Charlotte. He considered moving to other places, but then he said, you know what? He said, my workers and those kind of folks, I don't want to have to uproot them. I don't want to have to, their jobs be in jeopardy and stuff like that. So the property that he's on now was actually vacant buildings, and windows broke out and the grass was growing up and all like that. He bought that property anticipating that we were going to be thriving and anticipating that we were going to do these things to help Hickory to grow and to help our economy. So he really took a risk too, because he bought that property. He built that tremendous building, that tremendous business. He's employing people. He didn't pack up his stuff and leave and go somewhere else. He invested in our community. And it's like we tell people all the time, the city, if we don't invest in our community, how can we expect you to invest in our community? So that's kind of the concept, but people like Paul Thompson, and he's not the only one. There's other people that have done the same thing, but that was kind of like when before City Walk, we were discussing and we were having meetings with business owners and people, and what's your thoughts, what's your ideals, and so I mean, we're invested. People are invested in this community, and partnerships and relationships. And are the key to success.
Yeah. It's funny. It's like when you listen to a musical artist when no one really is listening to them, and then all of a sudden they get popular, and it's like, I've been trying to say this forever. They're good.
Yeah, I know. But we've got so many people, and we've got so many nonprofits. Oh. And I mean, it's just amazing.
I gotta say, Hickory, and not only just Hickory, but like this the Tri-County, if you will,
Right.
Burke, Caldwell, Catawba, has just an amazing abundance of nonprofits that do great work. I
Right.
mean,
and they
it's
work together.
unbelievable.
And they work together.
Yes.
They're not really competing with each other.
Yeah.
I think that's key too.
100%, because there's, obviously there's only so much money out there.
Right.
But what each nonprofit can do with their funding is just incredible. You're seriously, if you're watching and you're looking for a nonprofit to donate, you could throw a rock in any direction.
There's no bad nonprofits.
Literally.
No. I mean, I'm actually on some boards and been on some past boards for some nonprofits. It's just tremendous.
100%. So let's flip the script. You are up for re-election. You are running for mayor. I know that's this thing you have to do every couple of years.
I've been out there the last 3 days, and in fact, my feet are still wet and cold. I've been out there for the last 3 days in the rain and the cold, but it's part of the job.
Let me ask you, and this is, I just don't know.
Okay.
What does a mayor do?
Well, okay. Again, going back to the, I guess you would say what's on paper.
Yeah.
On paper, it's a part-time job, and on paper, there's really only two distinctions between the mayor's role and a council person's role. Now, some people, it works different in different municipalities, but in the city of Hickory, the mayor votes on everything. It's not like that in every municipality. In some municipalities, the mayor only votes as a tiebreaker. So the way that we're designed, it's not like that. Our council, I get a vote just like everybody else does. So that's one thing that people may not be aware of. But as far as the real difference between the mayor and the council member is, I'm in charge of running the meeting. So that's really the primary difference. The other difference is that in my role, I am the one that's expected to be out in the community for community events, for when new businesses come in and things like that. I'm out there promoting the city, and I'm out there helping to answer people's, not that the council members aren't, but they're not they're not expected to. It's really the role of the mayor to be out there and to be the one visible in the community. So on paper, really, that's the only difference. Now, I take it a lot further than that because I've known, let's see, the 4 prior mayors prior to me, I've known them, and they've all been good folks. But the 4 prior mayors had full-time jobs. And where I think that I'm able to really do what I consider what should be the role of the mayor is, I don't have a full-time job. So my full-time job is out in the community every day and being the face and being available. I think if you're in public office, particularly locally, you can't do it as much on the state and federal level, but I need to make myself accessible and available. And I really do put a lot of emphasis on making sure that that's what I do.
Did you have any political desires? And I mean, I feel like mayor and council people get a very bad rep of like, yes, it's political, but it's like there's a lot more that can happen than like party politics, if you will, right? It's not about the red side or the blue side. It is literally about how can we make this community the best it can possibly be. And I feel like sometimes people get lost in that. So like for you, did you have any desire local government, or did you literally just jump in as a council member? Well,
I can tell you that story, but before I do, I want to clarify something. A lot of times people will say, well, you're a politician. And I understand what they're saying, but I very quickly say, well, I prefer the name representative. Because, like it or not, politician kind of has a negative connotation to it. As soon as, you say the word politician and you get the reaction that you just gave me. So, and I understand that, but I think representative or statesperson is a better, for me anyway, it fits my image better than the word politician. So to answer your question, like you've already alluded to, I spent 30 years at the police department and I retired. And when I retired, I was pretty much, in law enforcement, a lot of your officers get education and do training within the law enforcement field, because there is basic law enforcement training, and a lot of your seasoned veterans law enforcement officers, like I went to school and I got mine for the state. To be a law enforcement instructor, you have to get a special certification to be able to do that. So while I was still in law enforcement for the last 15 years of my career, I was an instructor. So I taught in BLET. I'm a firearms instructor. I was an aerobics instructor. I had all kinds of qualifications as a law enforcement instructor. So I thought when I retired, well, probably what I'll do is I'll do some type of instructing in law enforcement. And I still do that.
Yeah.
I do that still. But what happened was, I don't know if I won't say it was a challenge. It was a challenge because of my, because people knew me in the community. I had some people that asked me if I would be interested, and in the beginning, I was like, nah, why would I want to do that?
Not me.
Yeah, but then, people started having some serious conversations with me, and they said, look, you've got this background, and the community as well as anybody. Community policing at the Hickory Police Department was and still is a big thing. So community policing, I was out there in the community doing community policing for 15 years, the last 15 years or more of my career. So, that aspect, and the fact that as a council person, it's a lot of the similar type things that you interact with people on. It's solving problems, it's listening, and that type of thing. The only thing different as a council person, you don't get to arrest nobody. But
hey, if it gets out of hand,
well, I might be the only mayor. Well, I'm not the only mayor, but there's very few mayors that have powers of arrest. I'm still a sworn law enforcement officer.
Listen, you act up, the mayor hat comes off and the officer hat comes on.
Yeah, but the point is, I gave it some serious consideration, and at the time I was retired. And I had a really good idea of what the role of the mayor was. And I said, okay, I seem to be getting some support here.
Yeah.
And I went to the incumbent at that time. I went to her, and we were friends. I mean, she had been on the council when I was on the police department. And I knew that she had been there, and that we were friends, and it was, I wanted her to hear it from me, and I wanted her to hear the reasons why, and it wasn't anything personal against her. I wanted her to know it wasn't personal against her. So I went and we had some very good discussions. She gave me some advice, and she wished me well, and long story short, I ended up winning that first election, and I ended up winning the second term. And then, tragically, right close to the end of my second term, our mayor died, and that was kind of, that was extremely unexpected.
Mm-hmm.
And
So the Hickory mayor at the time died?
Yes.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So I was actually mayor pro tem when he died, which doesn't mean that I would automatically be the mayor, but it was close to it was like 3 months before the election.
Yeah, so it's like interim. It's like
right.
interim.
Yeah. But it was when that happened, it was 3 months before he was up for election. So again, some people started talking to me, and I started, perhaps you'd be interested in running for mayor. So I did. And I was elected, and the rest of the story. Now I'm up for election again.
I'm just going to ask you point blank simple.
Of course.
Why should people vote for Hank Guest to be mayor?
Well, they should vote for me for mayor based on my experience and based on the results and based on the evidence of what we've been able to accomplish as a team. Okay, I'm real matter of fact about this. I've not done anything without the help of others, whether it be the public, whether it be other leaders in the community, whether it be my fellow council members past and present. I mean, no single person can take credit for the successes that we've seen. But together, and I'm not talking about just the council and the staff. Yeah. If you look around, you know who the leaders are in this community. And the leaders in this community, along with the residents, have worked together. And the reason, it goes back to your original question, what's the best thing about Hickory? It's our people. So it really goes back to that. It goes back to the partnerships and the relationships and how well everyone works together, because when you do that, then it benefits everybody. You've heard the expression, rising tide raises all the ships together. Yeah. And that's a cliche, but it's true, and there's evidence here in Hickory of how well that works. And believe it or not, every community is not like that. There's a lot of communities that within their own communities, they're in competition with each other. And competition's all right, on the football field and on the soccer field and stuff like that. And we all want our home team to win. Yeah. But, in life, competition's okay. But we want people to work together, and I see that every day here in Hickory and the surrounding metropolitan area. And that's really, you ask why people should vote for me. I think that's the reason, because I'm going to continue to cultivate those relationships and partnerships, and I believe that everyone deserves a seat at the table. Now, you're not always going to get everything you want. None of us do. But at the very least, your voice should be heard, and you should have an opportunity to have a seat at the table. And as long as I have any thing to do with that, I am going to advocate for that. And, we may not agree, but we're not going to agree on everything, but there's going to be some things that we agree on. Yeah. And there's going to be some things that we can work together on. Yeah. So let's put aside those other things, and let's work on the things that we can agree on and help everybody.
Yeah, I think it's awesome. And one of the things, just knowing you and every time you speak at a chamber event, you talk about partnership, you talk about collaboration, you talk about a business investing into the community, because that's what it is, right? So for you, when was partnership and collaboration, when did you realize it? Was it when you got out of police work? Was it during your time in the police department?
No, it goes back to community policing, because that's what community policing is all about. See, you got to remember, when I started in policing, it wasn't like that. It was a different time. Police officers, when I started, and I'm not saying they were. It was just a different culture. Yeah. See, I'm a fairly small guy. I'm not. When I started, police officers were always male, and they were always big, muscular, or burly guys. Mm-hmm. They smoked cigarettes and drank coffee, and to be honest with you, they weren't. And I don't want this. I've got some really good friends from that time, and I'm not trying to paint them as bad people, but it's changed a lot. See, when I started in law enforcement, like I said, I was the runt. I'm this little. At the time I started, I weighed 120 pounds, and they were a little bit threatened by me because I had 2 years of college at the time. And see, that wasn't the norm when I started in the 70s. it was rare, if at all, that you had a police officer with 2 years of college. So they were a little bit offended by, first of all, it's like, okay, we got to get this guy ain't going to make it.
Yeah.
This guy ain't going to make it. I mean, there's a story related to that. When I first started, I was taken in a car, and I was put out in the Ridgeview community, and I was told to walk the beat. And I walked the beat. And my sergeant would come around every hour and check on me. Well, I found out later that that was intentional, because they thought by putting me out walking a beat in the 70s in a neighborhood at that time that wasn't as it had more crime probably than most neighborhoods. They thought that 2 or 3 days and he'll come back here and quit.
Yeah.
Well, guess what?
You didn't quit.
I didn't quit. Not only did I not quit, but the person who was in charge at that time, before he retired, ended up working for me. Yeah, and we were friends. Don't get me wrong. He wasn't a bad person.
Yeah.
But the intent was that I wasn't, it was a different time. I wasn't the big burly guy that was going to go out there and be able, they didn't think I could do the job.
Yeah.
And the fact that, they were a little bit intimidated because I had education that they didn't have.
Yeah.
So, but today, that's not the way law enforcement is, and that's the whole community. That's when the whole community policing concept really came about, was during that time.
Yeah.
So
I mean, you wasn't out on social media.
No.
Like the video of something happened before you even got to the crime scene.
No,
you
no.
literally had to get there. Okay, tell me what happened. Like, you were relying on the community, because back then there wasn't no TikTok, social media.
No, yeah.
Nowadays, I mean, a car could crash downtown, and it'll be on a Facebook group before
we get there.
Before you're even dispatched,
Oh,
right?
yeah, that's true.
It's so crazy.
Yeah.
But only got a couple more minutes left. Have just 2 follow-up questions. Election day is coming up. Obviously, there's early voting. This is something, and again, my generation is really bad for it. And I think it's kind of overall, a lot of people are bad for it. I was telling you before, I'm doing Leadership Caldwell, and out of the 22,000 registered voters, only 700 have showed up for early voting.
I don't understand that.
What would be your push to the community, not only for yourself,
right,
but because, and again, regardless of who you vote for, I think voting is,
important.
It's super important. What would be one thing you'd say to the community, regardless if they're voting for you or voting for whoever, why voting is important?
Well, voting is important all the time, but on a local level, I think it's even more important. You don't have as much say in federal and state government as you do in local government. I mean, let's face it. I'm out in the community every day. I see people and talk to people every day.
Yeah.
Now, you can make opportunities like that. You can make appointments to see your state legislators, and we've got some state legislators that live here in Hickory, and they're real accessible.
100%.
But the norm is that on a federal level and on a state level, you don't have the opportunities to interact and to voice your opinions and to make things happen like you do on the local level.
Yeah.
So, people get a little bit frustrated because, I hear people, and I know you've heard people say, well, my vote doesn't count. Well, your vote can count, but you got to make it count. You got to put anything you do, you got to put some effort into it.
Mm.
You got to put some effort in. You got to have some skin in the game.
Yeah.
And like I said, not just me, but I think on the local level, we're accessible and we're available, and you can have a conversation with us. And I've had those conversations, and I've changed my opinion on stuff because of those conversations. So you can have that kind of an effect. I'm not always right, and I don't always vote the way that I would vote for me personally, because I got to vote. My job as a representative is not to vote necessarily the way I would vote for me, but to vote the way that it's best for the majority of the people in Hickory. So,
and I think that's something that a lot of people don't talk about, because you're going to have more, like you said, you're going to have more effect on a local election, because this podcast doesn't happen if I didn't see you at the ribbon cutting yesterday.
Right.
I was like, hey, crazy idea I want to throw out there. Would you want to be on the podcast? And you were like, yeah, sign me up. Let's just find a date that works. And literally 24 hours later, here we are. So, like, again, to be accessible, where like people usually put that pressure on the presidential election.
Oh yeah.
For instance, the 700 who voted in Caldwell, they had 43,000 vote in the presidential election. So like that's a huge drop off. I don't know the numbers for Catawba. I just literally learned those numbers today for Caldwell. It's such a huge drop off.
Right.
And again, I will be the first to say, because I only like to speak for myself and my experience, I didn't know how important it was until this year. I didn't realize that off peak or off presidential years are way more important than any, like, honestly more important than the presidential election.
It affects you. It affects you.
100%.
Yeah.
And the president is going to do whatever the president's going to do, whoever's in office.
And you're never going to get an audience with him.
Exactly.
You're never going to get an audience with him.
The chances of you ever sitting down with anyone, state, federal, very slim. State, higher.
Yeah,
federal,
state, you can make state happen, but you have to have an appointment generally.
But to be able to, like, even council members, right? Like council members, these are people in the community.
They live in your community.
There's one of the guys I think is a teacher. There's another guy who's an attorney.
Right.
I was just at the early vote, and they were talking about the candidates. Like, that's
the resume.
Awesome.
The resumes of our council members are quite impressive.
Yeah.
They really are.
I think it's awesome. So I have one more question, and it's how we end the podcast.
Okay.
Is there anything you'd want to fill in? Maybe just saying something to the Hickory, or anything you want to add? Anything we didn't touch on? I know we only had a little bit of time because you're a busy man.
Well, I'm not really any busier than anybody else is. I think everybody, in their profession, and like I said, when I took this on, I took it on knowing that I was going to give it my all. I wasn't going to treat it as a part-time job.
Yeah.
Because first of all, it's not part-time, and I really don't consider it to be a job, because I enjoy doing it.
You have so much fun doing it.
I really do enjoy doing it, and I look at okay. I don't want this to sound the wrong way, but I'm going to be okay regardless of what happens. But I'm not doing it for me. My children, my grandchildren, my family, your family, we got to do this for the future of our community. I mean, let's face it, we're in pretty good shape. It's like I said, a lot better than what I deserve. But we're not doing it for us. We're doing it for the future and for the community that comes after us. And we got, if we don't set the example, who's going to set the example?
Okay, I lied. I have two last questions.
Okay.
My father passed away very tragically this past year.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Thank you. And it really, really made me start to think about legacy.
Right.
For you, for Mayor Hank Guest, for the human being Hank Guest, what do you want your legacy to be?
Well, first and foremost, I want people to say, you know what, Hank Guest did his very best. He wasn't perfect. None of us are. But he did his very best to follow the example and to follow God's word. I think that, to me, that's number one. And I'm by no means perfect, and I'm not implying that. But, I believe in our Savior, Jesus Christ, and I do the best I can each and every day to the best of my ability to follow in His Word. So having said that, besides that, the city of Hickory, I want to make a difference. I want to make a positive difference, and I want to leave the city in better shape than what I found it, and I want to help to cultivate the next leaders in our community. 100%. And if people can say that I've been successful in doing that, then I think that'll be enough.
That's so awesome. And then last question we ask every single guest who's ever been on the podcast, we ask this final question. For anyone watching, what's the best piece of life advice that you can give them?
The best piece of life advice I can give anybody, and it goes back to my Christian beliefs, is that, all of us are going to die. If the rapture doesn't come, we're all going to die. And you need to seriously consider where you're going to go when that day happens, because it's going to happen to all of us. Inevitably, it's going to happen to all of us, and you don't never know when. I've had, my mother's one of 7 children, and she's 88 years old. She's the oldest one. Her brother died Thursday. He was the youngest, so now she's the only one left. So you don't never know. You got to live every day like it's your last, and you got to put, let me ask you this. If you knew, nobody knows, but if you knew that you had 24 hours left in this world, would you do things differently? Yeah.
Oh, I mean, yeah, 100%.
Okay. Well, then,
why aren't you?
Why aren't you?
Have you ever heard the quote, live your life, not only like it's your last, but live your life like you have a movie crew filming your documentary that's going to be shown to God?
Well, what I always tell people is, and it's kind of similar to that, is you got to treat people like you would want them to treat your mother. If you're not, if you wouldn't act like you're acting in front of your mother, then why are you acting like that?
We can just go back and forth.
Yeah,
on the
I'm not perfect, and none of us are.
No,
but you got to be real.
100%. And I seriously, I can't thank you enough for being on the podcast.
Well,
it really means a lot. One more time for Mayor Hank Guest. Got the little applause button going. But seriously, guys, if you're watching this, I hope you learned something about Hank Guest. I hope you learned something about the mayor of Hickory. Make sure you go vote. Again, nonpartisan. You vote for whoever you want to vote for, but go out and vote. I think that's the most important message here. Go out and vote. You have the right to do it, so why not do it, right? But one more time for Hank Guest. And thank you one more time to J. Brown Realtors for allowing us to film here. But until next time, hit that subscribe button. Follow us on all social media platforms. But most importantly, lift love, crush hate. We out.